What's up? I'm Angie, and you are listening to Podcast That Pays, the podcast for online business owners who want to grow their business and sell their offers using podcasting. If you like no fluff, tell it like it is advice from a marketing-loving podcast agency owner, you are in the right place. So glad you're here. Let's dive in. Okay, so this is a very special episode because it is in conjunction with Camp, which is the training live event that I'm doing. If you don't know, you don't know. But if you do, and you're here from Camp, hello. If you're not, it's okay. You can still get value out of this. So a portion of what we're doing over there is Q&A, and I've been getting a lot of questions about a particular topic. And for me, the easiest way for me to answer questions is to podcast about it. So I'm going to go through some of the questions that I've been getting. And this one is specifically going to be about niching because people just have such a hard time with this. So let me pull up the questions. Camp day 1 questions. Okay, here we go. Jerica was coming through with the first question. Jerica says, "Ooh, this training was so good and it got me to work on my niche. My niche is very niche and it's about the makeup world and what it's actually like behind the scenes. I'm brand new to podcasting, so I'm a baby to all of this." That's okay. The name ideas are Behind the Brush or the Makeup Inquiry. Inquiry is like a really hard word for me to say. Behind the Brush or the Makeup Inquiry takes you on a journey through the world of makeup artistry with your host, Jerica, a seasoned professional with 17 years in the industry and 8 years as a business owner. Dive into the real stories behind the glitz and glamour as we explore what it's really like to work in bridal private client services and local commercial media. Each episode offers a behind-the-scenes look at the challenges, triumphs, and the everyday realities of being a makeup artist. I'm reading the description, by the way. This must be the podcast description. Whether you're curious about the latest product launches, intrigued by industry trends, or eager to hear about the makeup looks in your favorite TV shows and movies, Behind the Brush has you covered. Join her as she unpacks the art of makeup one brushstroke at a time. I like it. That's cute. Okay, so then the question is, my thing now is that I'm not sure what my offer is. I do in-person services, so I'm not sure how to transition into maybe online services. This is very interesting. And so, number one, I love the title of Behind the Brush. I love what you're talking about, but I think I would follow this up if you were live with me on a call I would follow it up with, what is it that you want to sell? And I would follow it up with, what I would say is, knowing behind the scenes of the beauty industry and what's going on with the beauty industry and like what it's like, someone who is going to hire you as to do their makeup, like that's what I'm getting from this. Like, do you do in-person services? Well, as in do people's makeup in person? Because what I'm getting from this is that the podcast is not really tailored to those people, but it's more so tailored to other people in the industry who would actually be interested in learning about these stories. Because me as a person who's a bride or whatever, like I'm not going to care about these stories at all. But someone who is starting out in the industry, you have a lot of experience, they would be interested in that, not me. So I guess what I would say to that is, and this is a really good topic or thing to talk about on, the difference between using your podcast for your business or if you're talking about something else, but it's not necessarily related to your offer. It's like, what do you do? And I think that it just depends. I don't think you need to know right away what to do, but I do think it's two different people. I do think that this is maybe a building your personal brand play, and you're not necessarily going to get makeup clients. It will help you build your brand. But what I will say is, immediately you should be trying to build an email list of these people of your peers or colleagues or these people who would be interested in it, because that's who I would think would be attracted to it. If you don't have an offer to sell them at this moment, maybe you do. Maybe there's like coaching or something, but like, how do you get these people into your list? I think is what I would focus on as I'm figuring out what I might want to sell to this audience that's going to be kind of new. They're going to be kind of new. So that's where my head would be at on that. That's how I would answer that question. And obviously, there would be some follow up back and forth if we were on an actual coaching call, but that's my answer. So, number one, Behind the Brush is a really cool name. I love it. Go ahead and trademark it and buy the URL if it still exists and get the podcast going. And then think about what would you sell to these people who are 17? You've been doing it for 17 years, 17 steps behind you, 8 steps behind if they're business owners, 8 years behind. You have a lot of knowledge, a lot of things that you could share with them. What could you build for them as an offer? Okay, the next question, or long ass paragraph, because you guys are writing like long ass things, which is good because it means you're thinking about these trainings, is from Leanne. It's probably not how to say your name. Leanne, no clue. The question is, or the comment is, I loved the first training. It helped me realize my initial podcast idea was kind of vague and also bores me already. Part of my story, life after a cult and shunning after divorce. That sounds interesting, Leanne. But now I really want to get into and think I will have more value is how to do that instead. So it was about life after a big change. But now we're going to talk about how to do that. Okay, niche. My hot take is that healing can be quick and lasting, pretty painless, that you don't have to do it yourself and there's a life beyond healing. That healing is the pit stop, not the destination. A lot of what I do flies in the face of traditional healing approaches and focuses instead of change at the level of the unconscious mind. That is interesting. I like your hot take niche. Mission, getting people to live their one wild and precious life on their terms and to suck all the joy and juice out of it. I like that. I want to do that. Audience, people have done a lot of healing and they just want to feel better and move on. I want that. They are often outliers. People who have left behind conventional lifestyles. They might have left the church, come out as queer, gotten divorced, or left corporate jobs. They do things differently. And I'm inviting them to extend that approach to healing. Some of my name ideas, the healing detox, quick, painless, done, or quick, painless, lasting. Number 2, the healing shortcut, quick, painless, done. 3, heal fast, live free. 5, goodbye healing, hello life. 6, goodbye healing, hello change. 7, goodbye healing, hello healed. Would love Angie's input and feedback from others on what hits that positioning sweet spot. Okay. I absolutely love this positioning. And here's the thing. And so here's something I want to call out about this is that it's not that niche. It's not super niche in the way that a lot of times we think about it, which is we have to only talk to one specific group of people, right? So niche as in we can only talk to business owners who are age 50 to 60 or people after divorce, right? This could be for anybody technically, but the positioning of this is really cool in that you've got your finger on the pulse of what's going on and like you know your people really well, and maybe you don't, but you're on the right track because there are people who are just like this who are going to be really magnetized to this message. I think it's really magnetic. I think it's a great positioning. So what I would say is the healing detox. I feel like the healing detox ones are too long. The healing shortcut, the healing detox. I like the healing detox, but you can't put these other words in there like quick, painless, done, or quick, painless, lasting. Like just call it the healing detox and be done. I vote for that. Or then I vote for goodbye healing, hello healed. I vote for those. Those are my 2 votes. And I vote for those because I like this idea of bucking against the system of this traditional healing that lasts forever, or it's this journey, because I don't want that. this is why I feel like people have a hard time who are like, who do things in like in life coaching and things like that, is because and you lead with like your healing, or you want to like heal. I just feel like nobody really wants that. Like nobody really wants to be in their shit or dig their shit up or deal with the shit. People just want to be. And so if you can tap into that people really want that, I think that's super interesting and the way to go. So that's your answer. The healing detox, I think it's beautiful messaging, like a beautiful positioning. I think it's really, really good. I really like this. Everyone, if you're listening to this, I really like this. This is like on track because it's really something different, something that's like stands out from the norm. I think it's positioned well. I think it'll do well. Okay, let's see what Lena has to say, even though I just talked to her on the phone. Lena says she isn't always the clearest when it comes to marketing. Her company is Light Collective and Co., where light is a reminder to let it go here today. I've previously wanted a podcast with truly only a trailer called The Light Life with Lena, and I want to talk about self-care and burnout strategies that are simple. I have a hard time. Okay, she has a hard time feeling like she's talking to multiple people. There's 2 to 3 specific audiences, which are special needs caregivers, healthcare workers, corporate wellness, schools, and nonprofits, because it ties back to her origin story. My struggle with this is marketing these and having one podcast that is relatable to each of these audiences in a way that continuing to work with makes sense. A general work with me makes sense. A general low ticket membership group trainings on specific topics and cohorts. In my brain, this gives me the flexibility to have a general CTA on my podcast and then hyper niche at variety of points, but my foundation remains the same: simple strategies to reduce burnout. I'm excited to hear everyone's thoughts. I've also contemplated and can see myself doing one specific to the special needs community that comprises of newsletter blog that ties into my current community. Okay, Lena, I love you, but I do feel like it is really, really broad. I feel like it's really broad. And I feel like you're just talking about, self-care is just broad. That's my answer. It's broad. My answer is I would pick one. Who are you talking to? Are you talking specifically about caregivers, which is what I think you should talk about, because I do know you a little bit. So I think you should lean into it. And that's the thing about niching down. I know that you can talk to and help other people, but the more specific you get, the more known you're going to be, and the more clear you are going to be. You are going to be more clear, and I think you need clarity. And so I would think about how to, instead of trying to focus on all these 2 different audiences that, you can build, like, that can all relate to this, like, speak to one person who's going through one unique set of issues. That's my answer. So if you are struggling and you have like 2 to 3 different audiences, like, who do you want to talk to right now? I think it's really important to just get specific for now. You can open it up and you can go broad later. But I think, especially if you've been mulling over your idea for a while, go niche. Start with the one thing. We can change it and broaden it later. Do not just start a podcast that's like about how to take care of yourself in general and self-care. I think you should go niche. All right, that's my answer. I like saying that. That's my answer. All right, Jerica. When I started 7+ years ago, I marketed myself and my space for every woman. Talking to the masses got me attention, but no sales. The moment I started selling, I lost 70% of my following. Holy shit, which is fine. I've had some pivots. I haven't posted on my public podcast in almost a year. I do have a private podcast that I use for my current membership. I guess I don't know who I'm for anymore. I struggle with getting super specific, and that has cost me. How do you even know where to start to niche down? I guess, and there's a comment on here from Eleanor that's like, what are the themes and struggles people talk about in your membership? What is the most popular content? That will give you a clue as to who is specifically drawn to you. That's really good, Eleanor. Thank you. That's good advice. I would say that, but I would also say if you have been in a place where you are stopped, I would start again because action breeds clarity, and maybe just start talking again on your podcast. And I don't know if your content has always been kind of in line with who you are and you're speaking to people who are in the place that you are. I know you, so I've seen your content. And so I kind of feel like that's the vibe, is that you were talking to kind of everybody, like a space for every woman. So two things. Number one, I would lean into like, what is your membership about? Who is purchasing it? Why are they there? What's the resounding thing? Maybe you need to talk to those people more. Like maybe get on a call with everyone in your membership and chat about it. Because your question is, where's a good place to start? That's a good place to start, is talking to people. It's an excellent place to start. Get on a call with people in your membership and in your world and ask them questions. Tell them your ideas. Tell them what you're thinking about starting. Get feedback. That really helps to get you jogged and going. And the second thing would be, what are you wanting to sell? So I think it's a two-part approach. Like, what is it that you want to sell? Because we need to niche our content. If that's the most important thing, you're like, I cannot do this podcast. And this is a true thing. I cannot do this podcast unless I sell something because, my God, this takes so much time and energy. And if that's where you are, then your content needs to be based on like what you're selling, period. Because that's what's going to get you to the cash the fastest. So those are my considerations and my answer for that. Talk to people. What are you selling? That's my answer. Let's see. What else? Hey, everyone. Okay, so the niche thing, this is from Emma, which I already know Emma still because I talked to Emma one-on-one on a call. Okay, so the niche thing has never been easy. However, I totally get the need to be specific. My podcast is Time Traveler. My aim is to normalize being spiritual, premonitions, unexplained, being different, higher realms and light, beings, all the jam with cream on top. My voice with guests in this area and my own channeling into themes showcased. I aim to respond to Q&As and even win a hot seat. Aiming to be a guest on others' podcasts, so just holla. Would love any feedback. I already gave you my feedback in our one-on-one call, but so that everyone can hear, I feel like you're pretty niched. I feel like you don't need any more support in the niche area. You are clear that basically, I had a client once that was talking about like spiritual misfits. Not that you're talking about spiritual misfits, but your positioning is that everyone is spiritual, basically. And like we're destigmatizing this fact that there's some like woo-woo corner over here, but that we all have gifts and abilities. And I feel like that's pretty cool positioning. You would just need a really good name that positions that. Like we're all freaks. Just kidding. We are all woo. You too. Anyway, that's my take on that, Emma. Eleanor says, I'm a dating coach for women over 40, moving into the online course space and not doing the one-on-one anymore. Amen. I hear that. I get stuck at go on the name of my podcast. Is it better to have an aspirational name, something my ideal client really wants, or what I want them to stop doing, which is funny and they would understand the language around it? Without going into all my ideas, I'm telling women over 40, stop chasing unavailable guys. Or I'm telling women over 40, they can have the dream relationship they want. Both messages are on brand. Any thoughts? Okay, I answered this in the group, but I am really snarky, and so my personality immediately goes to the funny and to the like, stop doing this thing. I feel like that's more attention grabbing, 1,000%. So my feedback that I gave was that they both seem clear, but the stop chasing unavailable men really stops the scroll. It really does. So the lesson in this is that, and this goes, and really the distinction between these names, it really is about positioning. It's about having the right positioning. It's about like, how are you positioning your brand voice and yourself? And so that matters. So what is your brand voice? How do you show up? For me, it would be easy. I'm super snarky. People would resonate with that. I think it's funny. I like that one better. And I think it's fun to maybe sometimes like poke fun at things that we have done that maybe are not the best options, but that's the thing that we're doing. So maybe that's your positioning. I definitely think you should do that one. Okay, makes sense. That's my answer. Very demure. That's very demure. Let's see, are there any other questions? I think that is it. So those are great questions. I'm glad that I answered them all. So come over to my group, Launch, Grow, Explode Your Podcast, and you can ask questions there. I could do a podcast episode on it and answer your questions there. But those are my answers. And thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.
Hey, if you enjoyed the show, head over to podcastthatpays.com to get started on your way to creating a podcast that pays. And don't forget to follow this show and take a screenshot that you were listening and tag me on Instagram at Angie M. Jordan. I'd love to meet you and show you some love over there. Thank you so much for being here. I love you. Let's get this money.